I've had a lot of people asking me for a fighter skill tree kind of build, and let's just jump right to it. So, we've got Blitz, which is going to be a very vital gap closer ability that you're going to want to use. But from the level 1 to level 10, I suggest not leveling this for a little bit. What I would actually take first is probably Brutal Cleave. This will help you get through a lot of those low level mobs. You can group a bunch of them up, and you can slice them down pretty easily with a melee attack and using your greatsword. I do prefer a greatsword longbow combo, even though I like shortbow more. And the reason I'll get to that later. So first, you're going to start with a greatsword and a longbow, and then that's pretty much what you start with anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Then you're gonna go Brutal Cleave to get through some of those like low level mobs early, and then you'll go into Lethal Blow and then Consuming Lethal Blow once you hit level 2 and level 3. This will basically just be an execute. It's really good for just like getting people down. It's really good for hemorrhaging, which works with your form of ferocity. So first and foremost, shit. We'll talk about forms later. Overpower is something that you just are going to use on cooldown just because it's a lot of damage, and you don't really have to worry about it until you get Brutal Cleave. And then Brutal Cleave you're going to use pretty much all the time over Overpower. I only use Overpower against like single targets because it has like a 4-second cooldown, or 4-second shorter cooldown than Brutal Cleave. So you will go Overpower for single target and Brutal Cleave for multi-target, and then you'll go into Lethal Blow, which will your combo will probably be like Brutal Cleave, Lethal Blow, and you will get your overkill damage as health and mana. I will actually wait to use Lethal Blow until they are like, I know the next auto attack is about to kill them. And if that auto attack is about to kill them, I will use Lethal Blow because then I will guarantee get more health, more mana, and just be able to keep grinding mobs way more efficiently, and you don't have to sit around and wait around forever. Mana is something that fighters use, and something that is actually detrimental to keeping your sustain up early game. Once you get to later game, it's a non-issue. A lot of people like using Whirlwind. I'm not a big fan of it, but if you are doing a lot of AoE grinding, especially early game, this is good. I've seen Nuke and Overall basically using this climactic whirlwind, and it performs a final swing which gives you an extra damage at the end, so it could be useful when AoE grinding. I just haven't really used it. This will also, if you are in a PvP and you know ACC is coming, you can use Whirlwind to not take any CC. So you can actually skip hard CC by using Whirlwind if you time it correctly. So this is a really good PvP ability if you have that spec. However, I go into Blitz, and then we use Raging Blitz for the combat momentum. You get more combat momentum, and then once you hit level 6, you can either go Rupture, Maim, or that's pretty much it. And then if you're dealing with like a lot of AoE mobs that that are like out of range, or you're doing PvP, I like the Slicing Maim. This isn't necessary. This is very playstyle. This is going to upgrade your Maim to where it will create a line. It's kind of like the Berserker smash. It's really good. If you're using Whirlwind, you could skip out on one of these and get Battle Cry. Battle Cry with riled and weakened enemies will also be really good with Whirlwind. And then as you are scaling up in levels, you're going to start thinking about forms. You're going to maybe use this for potential PvP usage. Knockout will sleep people for 10 seconds. Lunging Assault, Wall Up, they looked really good to me, but I haven't really found any real use for these two abilities. So I would pretty much just really not spec into these at all. Crippling Blow is going to be really good in parties with a Bard. any with the new PTR patch note, the bards with menacing melody will make it so that they are weakened, or it'll make it so that they're staggered. So when they're staggered, you can use crippling blow to trip them. This is a really good interrupt for like the Flayer's Laugh. It's really good for other instances where you just need to interrupt NPCs in particular. It's also really good. Tripped is really, really good for PvP as well. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Overall, I avoid this wound thing. This is probably going to be like if you need wound stacks, if you are in PvP versus healers, this is probably going to be late game. So these two abilities, Brutality, where your Overpower and Brutal Cleave will apply a wounded stack to enemies, and Weapon Combo Finishers will attack a proc of Wounded on an enemy. Those are going to be extremely late game. I wouldn't worry about them early game ever. So as we are leveling through, we've kind of labeled some playstyles, but we've also figured out some very, very key abilities that we want to level. Rupture is really, really good, and it's also really good with Crippling Blow. So based on the opponent's inputs on Rupture, so it doesn't matter how far of a distance they've traveled, if you use Crippling Blow to snare them, which is a slow, then even if they're moving left, right, or whatever, it keeps stacking the Rupture. It does not matter the amount of distance, so it is actually really good. Even though they're not moving very far, Rupture is stacking, and it's stacking quickly. That is a very, very, very strong ability to use. So, next we have the forms here. If you are early game and you are running into mana issues, Form of Fluidity and the Meditative Form of Fluidity will make it so you have absolutely no mana issues. This will also make sure that their physical mitigation is down for 6 seconds. And yeah, you're pretty much just penetration on these guys. And their Brutal Cleave will apply Shaken, and Shaken has a lot of good interactions with other classes as well. So yeah, any physical mitigation will help your rangers, it'll help your tanks, it'll help you, but it won't help like your mages and other casters. So just to keep that in mind, if you have like a very, very large mage party, this is not that great. But Form of Celerity, I like this one a lot. It applies staggered, which works really well with your Crippling Blow. It's probably going to be really good with Whirlwind and Battle Cry, and Maim is also another key ability that I'm going to have here. So when choosing forms, this one will provide bleeding, which will allow hemorrhaging, which is really good for lethal blow. So yes, you have a lot of good things. Ferocity, lethal blow is a good combo. Battle Cry, Whirlwind is a good combo. Cataclysm and Maim is a good combo. Maim does an extra 20% additional damage to recently tripped targets, which Cataclysm trips people. Crippling Blow trips people. Stagger with Form of Celerity into Stagger, into Crippling Blow, into Maim is very, very good. So those are the things that you're going to want to line up together. Your key abilities when you start getting into the level 12 range is going to be where Fighter really comes online, though. So this is where you are a full-on character. You have your whole archetype done, and I would say that probably happens around level 15, around level 17, maybe even. So let's go through the leveling process one more time so I don't get everybody overwhelmed here. Okay. We are going to start with Brutal Cleave into Lethal Blow, into Consuming Lethal Blow. If you are doing AoE mobbing and you are not worried about having a gap closer, go ahead with Whirlwind. If you have a bard in your party, go ahead with Crippling Blow. And then you can spec into these things as you wish. But I would say you're going to hit level 6, and you probably don't need one of these, right? So you can just go ahead and move up into this tree. You can start with Rupture or Maim, whichever is your preferred playstyle. Or if you have Whirlwind and you really like Whirlwind, go with Battle Cry. And then you are going to eventually get all 3 of these things. This is going to be based on your playstyle. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You can get this for PvP if you're facing PvP in the world. This is just another sleep. It's like slumber. You could blitz onto somebody, knock them out. Make sure that you don't damage them after this. Make sure your auto attack is turned off because it will break the sleep. After that, you can probably choose. Let's see, we're at level 10. So you could probably choose which form you would like at this point. You may have a point here. You may go into this, which is basically just lifesteal. Your form of celerity having lifesteal. This is basically just having a ton of mana. You get max mana per second per point of combat momentum you have. So I really like this form of celerity. It also increases your move speed, if I'm not mistaken. It does staggered. I think it's really, really good there. And then we'll get into like Cataclysm. Oh, well, the first ability you're going to get is Blood Fusion. This will keep you alive. You are once again going to get Blood Fusion upgraded, and then you are going to hit Berserk. And Berserk is going to be really, really insane. It's going to help you basically reset your cooldowns once you hit this button. So once you're level 16, sick. Then you have another gap closer with Leap Strike. It's basically Heroic Leap. You can snare and shaken your enemies. So these are going to be your next abilities. And then later, you are probably going to get Unyielding Berserk, where you can use it to maybe not be disabled by CC. And so you can just get that on out of there. So now we're almost at like level 20 here. And we've got... yeah, don't forget this Blitz. So this Blitz is also really important once you have Berserk. So like I would even do something like this, where I am at level 17, 18. And then I spec into like Cataclysm, and then I spec into like Heroic Leap. It's very, very possible that this is your level 20 build out. And then level 21 through level 25, you could probably do like these kinds of specs where you can flow in between each one of your forms based on what you need. You can also get this and probably a wound if you would like. There's like pretty close to whatever you need. You can also spec out of Whirlwind if you're not using it and then go into the forms, or you can spec out of the forms and go into something like Wound if you like you're doing a lot of PvP and you're running into healers. It's very, very fluid after level 16, level 17, because you'll have all your core abilities. Once you have your core abilities, then you start speccing all this stuff, and then you're having a fun time with everything else. But for the most part, I would say this is pretty much the core of what a fighter would like. So anyways, that is it. Let's see. That might have been a that was only 13 minutes. Okay, I did pretty good. So if you're a fighter, if you have more questions, let me know. Oh, yes, another really good thing. Longbow, third weapon attack. So the longbow's third weapon attack will stagger. So you can do 3 auto attacks with a longbow, blitz into them, and then basically you can crippling blow them and start wailing on them with maim. You can do your battle cry whirlwind once they get up. So you know that they're going to be trying to CC you as soon as they get up from that, and you can disable that CC by using Whirlwind. You may also have already built up your momentum by that time. So if they try to CC you, you could try to Berserk, but I wouldn't do that simply because if you Berserk too early, then most of these cooldowns only have one. You don't have like your full rotation. So I think a Whirlwind into something like your full rotation, whatever it may be, Rupture, Brutal Cleave, Lethal Blow, something like that. Cataclysm into like another maim or something like that, with Blood Fusion being the last thing that you do. So at the end of your rotation, you're going to do Blood Fusion, and then you're going to Berserk, and then you're going to do another rotation, because your Berserk is going to be filling you up, especially after Lethal Blow when they're hemorrhaging. You'll be getting twice as much of everything that you need. And you will also be just regenning a shit ton of HP. There's nothing they can do. Like, you are the tankiest motherfucker while Blood Fusion is running. And then Berserk will lower that cooldown, and also your momentum will be super high. So when you use Berserk, basically all of your cooldowns reset. you get uncc'd, all your cooldowns are reset, and you are just pounding away, and they're probably going to be dead by the time your second rotation goes through. So that's pretty much the fighter. There's a lot more to it, like with certain niche scenarios, but those are the key combos. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for coming, and I hope you come again.